What is going on, everybody? In today's video, we are going to be hopping into a 12-team full PPR mock draft, selecting from the 1.2 overall, rolling with one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end spot, two flex spots, and 5 bench spots. If you guys are new to the channel, this is all we do here all year long. Free fantasy football content, redraft, dynasty, and best ball. If you guys are into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button on the way in. And without further ado, let's hop right into today's mock draft. Go ahead and get this started. See Jamar Chase off the board right away. And what I say in the offseason, year after year, right? You need to determine in the first round, are you selecting a running back or a wide receiver? And that's going to basically determine what you do for the rest of the draft. And I know Saquon Barkley's on the cover of Madden. I know some people are freaking out about it. You got some other very good names here, like JJ, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs. And I know it's very uncommon to see a wide receiver one or running back one from the previous year, such as Jamar Chase and Saquon Barkley, repeat as the RB1 or wide receiver one the following year. So if you wanted to go with a different player here other than Saquon, who's the next man up in a majority of mock drafts as well as best ball drafts right now, I'm not against it personally, but we're going to start today's mock with Saquon Barkley. Then we'll just kind of see who goes throughout the first round here. But what we want to do for the remainder of this draft is what I call a bounce back strategy. So we started with the running back. That means in the second round, we're going wide receiver. In the third round, we are going running back. We're just going to keep implementing that kind of bounce back method. Let a good tight end fall to us, and then probably go late round quarterback is usually what I do in this specific strat. So let's just very quickly break down the first and second round here, at least who's gone so far. See Bijan at the 1-3. I don't think that's crazy. I've seen that in a lot of mocks, and I've seen that in a lot of best ball drafts. Bijan at the 1-3 is definitely a thing that will happen a lot of the time. JJ, Lamb, Brown, 3 wide receivers gone there. You could really pick those guys in any order. I have no problem with it. Then Gibbs at the 1-7 is the player who you could even see in front of those wide receivers, but Gibbs is going to be gone this early in drafts a majority of the time. They've got Neighbors, Puka Nacua, and Nico Collins. Some people have a lot of faith in Puka. Sometimes he goes a little bit earlier. There's a lot of Neighbors buzz right now. Sometimes he goes earlier as well. Nico at the 110 is pretty appropriate, but you could always see him a spot or two earlier. See Derrick Henry gone at the 111. I've seen Henry more so in the second round, but yeah, basically in the second round, right? Genty is the player that I'm more commonly seeing in terms of a running back gone at the end of the first round. And sometimes in the 1-8 area, sometimes a little bit later than that. But if you're going to see another running back gone, I generally am going to say that's going to be Ashton Genty, at least in the first round. AJ Brown wraps up the first round. He's either gone at the very end of the first round, like we see here, or beginning of the second round. And we do see Brock Bowers gone at the beginning of the second. You will see Brock Bowers selected in the second round, just based on current ADP right now. That is where he is going. I'm not personally going to spend a draft selection that early on a tight end, but I get it. You want to go with that, that's fine. Then we see Drake London and Brian Thomas Jr. gone there at the 2-2 and the 2-3. London, beginning of the second, is usually where you're going to see him go. Brian Thomas Jr. is a player that will at times go in the first round at the end of the first round. So, once again, we're mocking with the computer to get a sense of things today. You will see Brian Thomas Jr. go earlier, as well as Ashton Genty go earlier at times. Christian McCaffrey at the 2-5. Sometimes he'll bleed into this area, but a lot of times he's been gone in the early second round. We got Devon Achane, Ladd McConkey, Bucky Irving, all kind of going where they generally go, just generally speaking, right? Then we got Trey McBride and Lamar Jackson. So Trey McBride in a majority of mocks I've done, like in a community setting with real people, maybe a little bit closer to the beginning of the third round, but at times he will go this early at the 2-9. Once again, I'm not personally spending a draft selection at the tight end position this early, but I get it. And Bowers and McBride will be the first 2 tight ends off the board in drafts on a consistent basis at this point in the offseason. Then we see Lamar Jackson gone. Really, your first couple quarterbacks here, Lamar, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, those are the guys who are going to be selected first. When you're selecting with real people, or drafting with real people, I should say, at this point in the offseason, you're not going to see a quarterback gone in the second round. really, until we're in August, we're not going to get a true sense of when quarterbacks are going, at least in like a mock draft, redraft type setting. And this happens every single offseason. We just kind of slowly see quarterbacks creep up in ADP as, there's just so much value at running back and wide receiver at this point in the offseason. So I am kind of glad for the purpose of today's mock that we see them pushed up, but I just don't know if it's 100% realistic at this time. Nonetheless, we are taking a wide receiver right here. We already know that. We got JSN, Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Scary Terry at the top of the board. You could really go with any of these guys, except I guess a lot of people don't want to take Tyreek Hill right here, which is fine. I will say Marvin Harrison Jr. does kind of bleed into the second round, beginning of the third at times as well. I'm really literally okay with any of these guys. The last mock I filmed, I took JSN, so let's switch it up. Let's go T. Higgins, give us some nice upside. In terms of fantasy points per game, I mean, T. Higgins is going to be that guy, right? Then we're going to go with another running back here, running back, wide receiver, running back. That's the strat. Josh Jacobs, JT, Kyron Williams, all players that I'm okay with here, but I'm going Josh Jacobs right here. And we're off to a great start. We got our RB1 or RB2 and a wide receiver 1. So we're going to sit back here. I'm not going to break down every single round super extensively. If you guys want to join in some of our live mock drafts that we do when we live stream with the community, those will be where you guys can get a little bit more extensive breakdown, but break down the first 2 rounds for you guys, and then we'll go back to drafting here. We already know we're going to go wide receiver, and I know not everybody loves Courtland Sutton in this range, but I am a Courtland Sutton believer. Was a Courtland Sutton believer last offseason, and I really believe in this offense going into this season. So we'll take Sutton there. We're going back to the running back position. There are some names ahead of Joe Mixon that I like here, but I'm just going to stick with Joe Mixon, who was, outside of this little stretch where he was hurt and outside of the end of the season where he had some games where he kind of fell back and everything. Mixon was on absolute fire last year at 11 rushing touchdowns. We'll just go ahead and stick with Joe Mixon. He should, be in that same exact role that he was in last year going into this coming season. So sit back here. I will say when we do this given strategy, the quote unquote bounce back strategy that, or at least what I like to call it, right? If you start with a running back, then obviously your wide receivers might look a little bit weaker. You start with a wide receiver, then your running backs might look a little bit weaker. But what it does is it always gives you kind of like an even par team across the board. So let's go ahead and take a receiver off the board here. We could take a quick look at tight ends and quarterbacks, see if there's anybody that we can't pass up, or maybe even take a look at running backs to see there's anybody we can't pass up here, but I think we need the wide receiver help more than anything. And let's go for some upside. Let's go Travis Hunter right here. I think Calvin Ridley would be the other guy that I like in that range. I do like Khalil Shakir. I think he's a good value. 2 running backs I really like on there, and DeAndre Swift and Tony Pollard. So let's just go ahead and stick with the theme of rookies, and let's go with RJ Harvey here, who gives us some nice upside as well. And once again, I am very high on the Broncos offense going into this coming season, so I'm okay with RJ Harvey right here. You guys know the story on Travis Hunter. He should be a fun flex player for us, but we look at the competition for RJ Harvey. I'm not worried about Jaleel McLaughlin or Audric Estime. I know Sean Payton came out the other week and talked, we got some coach speak on Audric Estime, but I'm not personally freaking out about RJ Harvey's role. So looking at things here, I don't think we need to go quarterback necessarily. We're getting pretty close to tight end. Generally speaking, Evan Engram is the guy that I like at tight end in this range, but I don't want to take every starter on the Broncos as high as I am on that offense going into the year. You could go Engram here if you wanted to, but let's go ahead and take a wide receiver off of the board. Cooper Kupp is the player at the top of the board. You could go Kupp here. Could take a chance on everyone's favorite player right now, Stephon Diggs, but I'm going to go with Ricky Pearsall. I just really like him in this range. And then once again, could go with a quarterback if you absolutely wanted to here. Could go with a tight end. A majority of the time I'm going Evan Engram here, but I don't want to get too many pieces of that offense. So let's go ahead and take really what might end up being our final running back of this draft. You know what? I changed my mind. I think just for the purpose of things, let's stick with let's stick with Evan Ingram. I changed my mind because I just really, truly feel like he is the best available player on the board. And I do like that Broncos offense enough going into next year that I'm not going to freak out completely if I rock out of a draft with Sutton, Harvey, and Ingram. And this is a question I actually got on a live stream the other day. Like, do I get overly worried if I draft too many players from the same offense? If they're the best player available on the board, then my answer is no. All right. Let's take a look at wide receivers. I like Jawan Jennings here, which once again, we just took Ricky Pearsall. I don't think we necessarily need to take another running back. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we could go with like Rachaad White, who I do like in this range. Don't need another tight end. We are getting into an interesting range. Quarterbacks like absolutely flew off the board here. So this is what I want to do. I'm going to take one running back here, and then we're going to go quarterback. Let's take Rachaad White to wrap things up. I know I just said we may not need to, but I like Rachaad White in this range, and let's go for some upside at quarterback. Let's go Justin Fields for that rushing upside. Could go Drake May, maybe JJ McCarthy. A lot of people like Trevor Lawrence in this range, or Tua. But let's go Justin Fields for the rushing upside, and we can play the waiver wire quarterback if we need to. And let's wrap up with the best available wide receiver. We're going to be kind of looking in like this range. Sometimes Hollywood Brown is there, but Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen, Kyle Williams, Jack Besh, Rashad Bateman, Adam Thielen, whoever you like out of this bunch. We got a few rookies on this team already, so let's go for some veteran leadership. Let's go with the wide receiver 2 on the Ravens and Rashad Bateman, who did have some decent games last year and can at least be a flex option for us. So now when we look at this roster, we got Fields as a starting quarterback, a little shaky, but the rushing upside is there. And like I said, if we need to, we can hit the waiver wire. There are still some big names like Trevor Lawrence, like Matthew Stafford, like Tua Tagovailoa out there that could provide stability if we need it. We got a loaded running back room: Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, some nice upside, especially for down the stretch as the rookie season gets going with RJ Harvey. And then Rachaad White, still a player that I think has a lot of value where he's going in mocks. Wide receivers a little bit weaker, but we got enough here. T. Higgins, a lot of upside. Sutton can kind of bring that stability. Once again, Travis Hunter, a nice kind of upside flex play that I like a lot. Love Ricky Pearsall at his ADP, and love Rashad Bateman as just kind of one of those dart throws at the end of your draft. So this is how I would be drafting from the 1.2 overall. It would look a little bit different if you started your draft with a wide receiver. Like maybe Barkley was the first player off the board at the 1.1. If you go Chase, well, then things are going to be a little bit different here. You're going to get Chase at the 1.2, then probably Josh Jacobs at the 2.11, then a player like JSN at the 3.3, and it would just go from there. So this is a strategy that I really think works from any particular draft spot, and it just provides you with an even peel roster across the board and a lot of stability, and sets you up in a way that you can go into the season, make your trades, play the waiver wire, and be competitive all season long. So there you guys have it. There is a mock draft from the 1.2 overall. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you guys are new to the channel, this is all we do here all year long: free fantasy football content, redraft, dynasty, and best ball. If you guys are into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. But most importantly, if you guys have any fantasy football questions whatsoever, redraft, dynasty, or best ball, be sure to drop me a comment down below, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening, and remember, you saw it here on The Catch.